Welcome, everybody, to WagerTalk Today. Teddy and I have already spent 10 minutes arguing. What a show we have. Steve Merril, right off the bat, he's going to take a dive into the Thunder Mavericks game. Then he's going to look at Philadelphia and the Mets. Ross Benjamin, due to popular demand, will be on twice a week moving forward. He's going to look at the Red Sox and Rays and OKC as well. And Andy Lang doing triple time this week. He's got a UFC bet, a Luka bet, and a bet in the hockey game, Colorado Avalanche against the Dallas Stars. I'm Lawrence Presman. You're watching the best sports betting show on the planet. Teddy Covers is my co-host. You guys can have him. How are you, Theodore?
I'm doing all right this morning, Lawrence. Big game breakdown today. We'll talk a little MLB, Cubs, and the Braves as well. So let's get into it. Bring in Mr. Merril.
Well, we'll bring him in a second, Teddy. I run this show. You just sit back and shut up. Anyway.
Okay.
Anyway, just want to give everybody a quick heads up. This is my last show of the week. Thank God. Regretfully, I'll be seeing Teddy on Tuesday night for dinner. And then on Friday night, I'm taking him to the Dead show. Of course, I consider that torture, but hey, it's also charity, right?
So more torture than charity, I hope.
Yeah, no doubt. Steve Merril, how are you, my friend? You're hosting every single day this week. 3 days with Teddy, and then on Friday, you and Andy Lang. What's going on, brother?
Sounds good, man. Technically, it's 4 days this week, but I'm glad to be here on the show 5 days this week, Prez. Always appreciate it, and you have a fun time in Vegas. Be careful in the Sphere for the Grateful Dead show. It's like at a 90-degree Talladega Daytona slope as you get higher, so make sure nobody falls on you from the upper level. Yeah,
so we're actually under an awning. If I'm going to take Teddy to a concert, I'm going to make sure to get the worst seats. So mission accomplished. Steve, let's get straight into it because honestly, I'm excited to hear your thoughts on this Thunder Mavericks game.
Well, last night I decided to talk about this game because I did my video, which I do overnight. Every night we get up early in the morning. I break down every playoff game every day for the entire postseason. I will continue to do so. There's a 20-minute deep dive for the two games tonight here on WagerTalk TV, so check that out afterwards. And when I recorded my video late last night for this game, the over-under was 213 for Thunder and Mavericks, and I recommended in the video take the over because the line has been deflated too much. Well, this morning around 8:30 Eastern, he goes to 214.5, and then a couple hours later, about 10:30 Eastern, he goes to 215.5. So I guess the sharp money agrees with me on this one. So I wanted to talk about it again here on the show to let people know I do still think there's value with the over in this game. Yes, we've lost a couple points, but as I mentioned in my standalone video, the line is too low, and you can just look at the recent meetings and especially the regular season games to see that. Game one was 218.5, and yes, it stayed under at 212. But that's because it was a blowout by OKC. They won the game easily by 22 points. I do a mathematical rescore on all the games based on normal shooting percentages, based on the pace and possessions. That game should have come out to about 233, so it should have been higher scoring. I recommended the over in game two on my video last week. I actually did a free play on my page at WagerTalk.com last week. By the way, free plays, perfect 5-0 since last Thursday in baseball and basketball. Check those out every day and night. That game landed 229. It was in the high 230s most of the end game, and the rescore 223. That total was 217. Then game three stays under the other night because neither team shoots that well. Lands on 206. That total was 216.5. My rescore, though, once again came out to exactly 223. So yes, this line's gone from 213 up to 215.5, but there's still value. And just look at the regular season meetings: 235, 239, 226. 233. Those were the posted totals in the regular season. So this one is just too low. It's a pure math play here. And I don't mind the fact that both teams ranked top 10 in offensive efficiency, top 10 in pace, top 10 in possessions this year as well. I like OKC Dallas over the total tonight in game four.
So I want to ask you this, Steve, because it stood out to me while you were talking. How much do you factor in the regular season meetings at this stage? Because in my mind, like the regular season ended 100 years ago for these teams. And whatever happened in the regular season, the nuances of those games, were they in a 4 games in 6 nights scenario? Was this guy missing? Was that guy missing? In my mind, the regular season, looking at totals from the regular season, looking at game results from the regular season, there's not much you're going to get from doing that that's going to help you projecting forward. Do you agree or disagree with that assessment?
I agree and disagree. As is always, I agree and disagree. It's a balance thing, because you're right, Teddy. You don't want to weigh the regular season as heavily, but it does still count. And another good example is I had a strong best bet on the over in game 1 between your New York Knicks, Andy Lang's Indiana Pacers last week. And that total was like 20-some points lower than the regular season meetings as well. So, yes, playoff basketball is lower scoring and more defensive focused, but it's not 20, 25 points lower scoring. So these are overreactions. And by the way, you do have to look who played in the regular season. You're exactly right about that. And this is a good example of this series. In the 4 regular season games, Irving and Doncic only played together in one of those 4 games. That was the second meeting back on February 10th. Dallas won that game 146-111, 257 points scored. The total was 239. And that's when both teams had all their star power. So, yes, playoff games are more defensively focused, but I'm not sure this game's 30, 40 points lower scoring than that one was. I do think we get some value now with the over.
Steve Merril joining us. Guys, Steve Merril, #1 NBA expert this season and all time at WagerTalk. This is the sport he knows. You have a 2-for-1 Monday NBA special. Tell us what the hell that is.
Yeah, most units won this year in the NBA, most units won in the history of WagerTalk in the NBA. So I know the NBA well. A large part of that has obviously been the NBA playoffs. And I honestly believe the NBA playoffs have been my most consistent sport for the last 30 years. I've been doing this full time as a professional. So that's a large part of that #1 ranking. We're off to a 19-11 start this year in the NBA playoffs. I've got 2 best bets going tonight. That total I just gave you is not one of them. That's an opinion only. I've got 2 plays that are even stronger tonight. 2-for-1 special. They're each 25. Or get them both for 29. 2-for-1 special Monday night. Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com.
Yeah, awesome stuff. Steve Merril joining us. Shout out to everybody in the chat room. B Daddy, Tyler, Titans, Ray, some idiot named Dan Alexander, Sean Alvarez. Every day he's with us. Thanks, Sean. Boss, UC. If you guys like what you're hearing, please take a second and hit that like button, and also make sure to subscribe to our channel. We picked up 1,000 new subscribers in the last 5 days. We'd like to continue that, so thanks for all the help and the loyalty. Steve, Philadelphia Phillies playing the Mets. I had a great day betting yesterday. One of my plays was the Mets. Got it done late, but got it done nevertheless. Here we have the Mets playing Philly. The total 8, -120 for Philly. Where are we going?
Yeah, speaking of Dan Alexander, he does a great job hosting the baseball show every day at 2 o'clock Eastern. I'll be on later this week a couple times. And last week I did the Friday show with Dan, and we have to, by his contractual obligations, talk about his Philadelphia Phillies every show. And we all said how it looked too easy on Friday night with the Phillies over the Marlins. And we all kind of used it as an opinion, but not a best bet. Our gut just told you it was too easy. Well, it wasn't too easy. They won that game. But one thing I said on the show Friday was that good quality road favorites come to play in game 1 on Friday nights normally. I thought the Marlins would get them either Saturday or Sunday. And if they won both games Friday and Saturday, that getaway game Sunday, that randomness of Sunday baseball might be when the mighty Phillies fall. And that's exactly how that series played out. So I don't discount the fact too much that they lost 6-7 yesterday to the Marlins on getaway day. It does concern me, though, that they only had 6 hits. Their offense was in great form, though, before that. 16 runs, 27 hits the 2 games before. Mets were a little sluggish against the Braves, scoring just 3 runs on Friday and Saturday, but they had 10 hits yesterday. I look for both offenses to hit the ball well. You mentioned that 8. There's actually mostly 7.5s out there. This total did open 7. It's now it opened 7.5. It's now 7.5 over 15. Some 8s are starting to show. I like the over 7.5 while it's still available. I think both pitchers are hittable tonight. 2 left-handers going. And one thing I like to do when we have lefties on the mound is kind of dig deep into the lefty-righty splits for the teams, not against starters, but against the overall all pitchers faced. Phillies are the second best offensive team in baseball on base plus slugging, and their numbers against lefties are almost equal. Mets slightly weaker against lefties, but only a few points. So I think both teams will hit these pitchers well tonight. I think both teams are rounding into decent current form offensively, and both starters are coming off good outings. I think they're due for some regression. So I'd look at over 7.5 Mets Phillies tonight at 7 Eastern.
Is this one that you're looking is full game the way to go here, Steve? Or are there bullpen issues that we might want to be aware of for either team that maybe make it a first five as opposed to a full game? Talk about that thought process for this total.
Yeah, I mean, both teams, as you know, Teddy, play Friday, Saturday, Sunday, so the bullpens have been a little bit taxed. There's no day off here, so I think you could make an argument. I'm usually more of a full game guy when you have two good bullpens, and the Mets bullpen has been excellent this year, 2.79 ERA, one of the best in baseball. Phillies' overall numbers haven't been great at 4.6, but if you look at their road bullpen, it's 3.4. So these are what I consider two quality bullpens. So I would be more comfortable with the full game over for that reason. Even if they're a little bit taxed, it just gives us a little bit more time to get the runs. Definitely not opposed to the first five, though, because when you have two good bullpens like this, you do want to somewhat take them out of the equation. You can always split it. You know, this might be a good situation to split it half a unit first half, half a unit full game, because the bullpens are quality, but they're not exactly rested. So I think either way is fine.
Steve Merril. Steve, you're hosting tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. People are going to get to see you lots this week. Look, some people are very happy I'm not on the show. Most are crying. But they're all happy you are. Take the under on most people are crying.
Yes.
Okay. Fair enough. Whatever you say, Teddy. You've already pissed me off. Steve,
always depends on the number.
Kick ass on your 2 NBA bets tonight. Thanks for joining us, my brother.
Have a great trip, Prez. Thank you.
Teddy covers some business to talk about first. I had a good weekend except for Saturday. I had a 5% play on the Colorado Avalanche, and I lost it. But I did win my 4% again on Friday, and I had a 3-in-1 day yesterday. My clients are making money, but man, I hate losing those 5% plays. How did you do, bro?
Over the weekend, I believe it was 6-3, counting Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I did lose in the NBA yesterday with Minnesota. However, we've been winning in baseball and the NBA, both short and long term, even off yesterday's loss, has been pretty darn good. 65% playoff run coming into today. But I don't want to talk about my NBA or my baseball, both of which have been making money. I want to talk about one of the funniest things that I've seen because I saw it in town over the weekend. His name is Dwight Manley. He's a Southern California real estate developer, and he's a former sports agent. And he's going around town claiming that he was drugged with ketamine while playing blackjack in the high-limit area of the MGM casino. And supposedly, he left $500,000 in gaming chips on the table and was given $3.5 million in casino credits without his knowledge, according to a complaint of files in the District of Nevada. So, okay, the guy files a complaint, no big deal. What does he do next? He's buying billboards around town. Billboards. Take a look. Quote, who drugged a player's drink at MGM Mansion Bar December 10th, 2021? And then it gives you a phone number to call if you drugged a player's drink or if you know anything about it. So let's think about this for a minute. All right. Here's this guy. He has $3.5 million in casino credit. All right. He's not poor. All right. This is not money that he needs. He hired a private investigator, and he paid for all the billboards. Quote, he's got about 14 of them around town displaying the same signage for $1 million reward. Think about that. All right. What's the appropriate word? Maybe it happened. Maybe it didn't. We'll never know. But how bad do you need an excuse if you're putting up billboards around town trying to find some clue from 3 years ago that has 0% chance of success? And he's publicizing it and embarrassing himself in the process. Look, when you get your ass kicked in Vegas, don't try to sue everybody. Suck it up, go home. Maybe this isn't the right town for you. But this story, I got drugged and that's why I lost the $4 million or whatever it was. Please. And the billboards, double please. Some people, Prez, even people with money, are pretty freaking stupid. Back to you, my friend.
So I did not realize this happened 3 years ago.
Yeah.
What has happened in between that time period? Like, was he not mad the next day? Shouldn't those billboards have gone up within the first week? I'm a little lost at the strategy.
In theory, sure. I mean, the only thing I can think is that the guy's trying to make an excuse for his wife, maybe, He's like, all right, well, this divorce is going to cost me $100 million, but I can say I was drugged and searched town, and that only cost me $5 million. I don't know what his story is behind the scenes. I really don't. But you say, all right, yeah, it was this night in December of 2021. Now I'm putting up billboards in May of 2024. Again, it's not a 1% chance. It's not a 0% chance. It is hopeless that those billboards will actually do anything. All he's doing is attracting attention to himself, which I think might be what he wants, or who knows what this guy wants.
Yeah. Well, he better call Saul. Teddy, before we bring on Ross Benjamin, I got to say that Dan got that reference. Thank you, Dan. Before we bring on Ross, I just want to say, so one of our listeners told me about, I don't know, 6 months ago, might have been a couple of listeners. I actually would appreciate to know who it was. Said, Prez, you got to watch the show Warrior. Warrior is a show on AMC. It is done by the showrunner who did Banshee. Banshee is one of my favorite shows of all time. Jonathan Troper is the showrunner. So I started watching Warrior. It is 3 seasons. It takes place in the late 1800s in Chinatown in San Francisco. And I just want to say that I have never binged a show like this was the biggest binge I've had since the first season of Game of Thrones, where I watched the entire 10 episodes in one day. I got through 10 episodes in 2 days. I turned down action because I couldn't pull myself away from this. It is a freaking masterpiece. So whoever you were to suggest for me to watch Warrior, my God, were you right? Wow. Wow. If you guys love hardcore violence, tons of sex, and a lot of nude Asian women, this show is for you. Ross Benjamin, in what order would you put tons of sex, nude Asian women, and violence?
I'd rank them all 1, 1, and 1A. Violence being 1A. So,
well said.
Anyway, yeah. One thing I learned from listening to you guys' conversation off air is, Teddy, I won't be asking you for a ride from the airport anytime soon.
Yeah, well, exactly.
Yeah. Ross,
yeah,
I might pick you up. Prez is a whole different story.
I got that. And speaking of binging, Prez, going to see the dead, there's a good chance you might have a longer binge there than on the series Warrior.
Dude, I binge every night. I'm a binger, bro. Like,
that's what I like. Transparency. It's the best.
And my youngest daughter takes after me. She works hard all day and plays hard all night. Never been prouder. Ross, so listen, due to popular demand, and when I say popular demand, basically me, you are now going to be on this show twice a week. I thought your segments have been world class, and we're so lucky to have you. Let's get into our first game, and that is the Tampa Bay Rays and Boston Red Sox. The under and over was 8, the total. Now it's 8.5. You like the under. Tell us why.
Yeah, well, first off, thank you for kind words, Prez, and I am flattered to be on the show with you guys twice a week. Yeah, Boston, you think of the Red Sox, you think of these high-scoring games, especially at Fenway Park, and a lot of offense. Well, that's not been the case this year. And I bet Boston under 77.5 regular season wins before the season started. And I still feel pretty good about that. I mean, but here's the thing on this particular matchup. The Red Sox right now, they've gone under the total 11 of their last 12, including each of their last 5. Cutter Crawford goes for the Red Sox tonight. And he's quietly off to a very good start to the season. As a matter of fact, in 8 starts, Prez, a 1.75 ERA, a 1.08 whip. And here's the other thing. When you're pitching at Fenway Park, you're always prone to the long ball because, the Green Monster and the dimensions at Fenway. Well, he's only allowed 2 home runs this year in 46 innings pitched. And that's outstanding, regardless of what ballparks you're pitching in major leagues. Red Sox bullpen, by the way, Shaky at times this year, but over the last 7, they've really got their act together with the staff 2.28 ERA and 105 WHIP. The Red Sox this year as a home favorite of $1.10 or more, which they're $1.15 now, if I'm not mistaken. 10-2 to the under in those situations. This is a Rays team that not really similar to anything we've seen in recent seasons. They struggle to score runs at times, although they had 2 good offensive games against the Yankees in the last 2 games of the series. But they only averaged 2.34 extra base hits per game, and that's extremely low by Major League Baseball standards. And the Red Sox have played 12-3 to the under this year when they face teams that average 2.75 or less extra base hits per game. Zach Eflin on the mound for the Rays. I'm not going to sit here and tell you how great a pitcher he is because he's average at best, but he's been solid in 8 starts this year, a 3.75 ERA, a 1.13 WHIP. And here's the thing, the most attractive part of when I look at his numbers is he's only walked 4 guys in 48 innings this year. That's 1 per 12 innings pitched, which is extremely good. And the Rays bullpen, like the Red Sox bullpen, over their last 7, they've been much better than what their season averages show. And that's 2.60 ERA and a 1.19 WHIP. So I am going to take a shot here on the under, Prez. You know, it went from 8.5 to 8, now back up to 8.5. I'm going to go under the total of 8.5. And I think, Teddy, before you ask me, I'm trying to anticipate what I'm about to get here from Mr. Covers. Is yes, the wind is blowing out 10 miles an hour. And no, I'm not going to let that affect me. I still like the under 8.5.
That wasn't what I was going to ask you at all, Ross, but thanks.
All right. Okay.
For trying to project. Here's my question. All right. The Red Sox are 10-1 to the under their last 11 games. They've been an under machine of late. Yeah. If you haven't been riding the under streak and you're jumping in now on a team that's just cashed 10 unders their 11 in the last 11 ball games, and the sharp money's clearly saying, maybe tap the brakes on the unders for Boston. Does that concern you? If you haven't been riding it, do you start riding it now after it's 10-1 last 11?
Yeah, that's not the major emphasis of why I like to pick. I think you can't ignore that by the same token. And I'm not sure how you're deciphering the sharp money likes the over. I'm sure you have your ways. But, I mean, if it went down to 8 right off the bat and now came back up to 8.5, I would assume I don't know how sharp that money is. And, again, you're right, Teddy. I don't like to just play an under or an over just because a team is playing a lot of overs or unders, like you just alluded to. But when the rest of the data backs up why I like the under, and you couple that in with that 10-1 to the under in the last 11, then I certainly am not going to just get talked off of that just because they're due to go over the total. I hope that answers it.
Ross Benjamin joining us, everyone. So Los Pablo writes, Teddy, Prez, I'm trying to come to Whistler. As you all know, I just bought a place in Whistler. So I responded with, Los, I'm happy to ski with you anytime. So he responded with, is that an invite? So I just want to clarify, Los, it's an invite to ski with you, not an invite to stay in my place. Just wanted to get that out there. Ross, before we get into the OKC game, Teddy, I don't know if you saw the list Ross put into Slack for the show today. It's his hot streaks. Leonardo DiCaprio doesn't have a list this hot. I mean, wow. I can't read it all, dude. But I mean, 20-7 NBA run, 32-11 NBA run, 38-15 NBA run, 60-28 basketball run. Sophia Loren, Jane Fonda. I'm aging you, Ross. Anyway, yeah. These numbers, I mean, honestly, these numbers are Leonardo sick. It's just outstanding stuff. And I guess wisdom helps when you're a sports bettor.
Yeah, wisdom helps. And I think you guys both could attest to when you have runs like that, you have a little luck along the way too, right? So the combination thereof, and I'm certainly enjoying it. And it's really, I hate to talk on an arrogant sense, but it's not bragging if it's fact, right? I'm number one in 2022 in the NBA playoffs, number one in 2023 in the NBA playoffs, and number one this year in the NBA postseason. So 99 and 58 over that time at Sports Memo. That's good for 63%. I know Steve said, he's got off to a great start in the NBA playoffs, and it's certainly impressive during the regular season. And I would say equally impressive is my run during the postseason. And when you do it 3 years in a row, guys, I don't think it's a fluke.
Yeah, nor do I, Ross. And that's why you're on the show, and that's why you're part of the Wager Talk family. Let's get into this OKC game. Steve Merril came on and said he likes the over in this Thunder Mavericks game. Where are you going here?
Yeah, I'm going to look at the side here. Dallas, I believe, is -1.5 just before I came on air. So let's go with that point spread. And Oklahoma City, losing the last two games in the series to fall behind 2-1. Here's the thing with OKC. I know that Steve discussed, and Teddy brought a further point up, is how much weight do you carry from results in the regular season, whether it be ATS results or totals results, and take it into the playoffs. Well, here's the thing. Oklahoma City this year has only lost 3 in a row one time all season long. They're 7-1 straight up this year off back-to-back losses. So, yeah, I mean, you could say, well, that most of that's during the regular season. This is the first time they've lost 2 in a row all year. But to me, that really signifies consistency to me and a very resilient team. So I have to weigh that in heavily. And not only 7-1 straight up this year off back-to-back losses, but if they were facing a Western Conference opponent, 4-0 in those situations. And again, OKC has not played really good defense. Not bad in the last game. I mean, he only gave up 105, but not very good in game 2. But keep in mind, this is still a Thunder team that's allowing 96.7 points per game during the postseason and holding teams to 41% shooting. And it's not like Dallas has shot the lights out in the first 3 games of the series, only shooting 43%. Here's what's killing OKC in the last 2 games is their 3-point shooting efficiency. They're just 20 for 60, which is 33.3%. But in game 1, they were 16 out of 35. They're 38% on the season. And Dallas's 3-point defense during the postseason is 37.5. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that OKC is going to be more in the range of between 37 to 40% tonight from the 3-point line. That's going to make a world of difference. And also, Dallas, the one thing that really sticks out to me, Teddy, is in the first 3 games of this series, they've been very fortunate to be up 2-1, considering they're 50 for 74 from the free throw line. That's 67.6%. That's not even good at the college level. That's horrible by NBA standards. And in a game like this, which I think is going to be an extremely close game throughout, that may be the telling difference. And I think too many times when we handicap the NBA, or even college basketball for that matter, we lose sight of free throws. How many attempts, how many times a team gets to the free throw line, how many times a team allows free throws per game, and also free throw percentage. And again, if OKC happens to have to extend the game because they're down a couple points late in the game, you have to factor that in as well. As Dallas is not converting at the free throw line. And by the way, since 2013, NBA number 1 seeds down 2-1 in a series, and they're facing an opponent that is a seed of 4 or greater, like Dallas, 5-1 straight up. Not a lot of situations like that with the number 1 seeds. The 6 times it happened, the number 1 seed came back and won game 4, 5 of those 6 occasions. So I'm going to go with OKC plus 1.5, Teddy.
So I was going back and looking at those regular season when they lost 2 in a row, who they actually beat in the third game. I got Utah, they beat one time. They beat Washington one time. They had a win over Charlotte one time. They had a win over Atlanta. There was a couple of wins against quality teams, but the majority of those wins after back-to-back losses, came against bottom feeders. But I want to ask you the same question I asked Steve, and you alluded to it. It's the middle of May. The regular season ended a month ago. The meetings between these two teams and and the meaningful regular season probably ended in March, for most of these teams. How much do we factor in regular season results, regular season situations, off back-to-back losses, what we saw in the regular season? Is that still relevant against elite competition many, many, many weeks after the regular season is over?
It's a great question, Teddy. And it doesn't surprise me that you would ask that. And I'll say the same, along the same lines as Steve. Sometimes there's an overreaction, especially when we see totals during the postseason, right? And Steve brought up a perfect example. What the average total has been in the 4 regular season matchups as opposed to what we've seen in the playoffs. And really, if you look at the other series, they align perfectly with that statement. So in terms of who they beat from a quality standpoint, I would put more emphasis not only on who they beat, but what was the margin of victory? I mean, are they beating the Atlantas and the Charlottes in the lower cast of NBA teams? Are they barely getting by in those situations, or are they coming up with a strong effort? Because reminding you again, they're plus 1.5 in this game, and in all the games you mentioned, they were heavy favorites. So I think there's a discernible difference when you make that comparison, albeit it is a good point. So as far as regular season goes, in comparing it to the playoffs, it's the same thing to me. I guess it might be a bad analogy, Teddy, but the best I can answer it is when you look at a team's statistics for the entire season, the one team in the NBA is averaging 121 points per game, Indiana, for example, but yet you're seeing their totals in the playoffs sort of down. I look at how they've been doing since the postseason began, now that we're in the second round, and how they finished the season, because sometimes overall season statistics could be extremely deceiving because a team is not comparable in terms of what they're doing from a data standpoint or a statistics standpoint over the last 10 to 15 games, for example. So that's the best way I can answer that. But that's a loaded question and a good one, Teddy.
Ross, what do you got going for the clients tonight?
Yeah, I'm going to have both NBA games tonight, folks. And again, not to repeat what Prez said, but on a great run in the NBA right now. And don't forget, you can get 11 days for the price of 7, folks. All you need to do is go to sm.buzz/RB at Sports Memo and click on my 7-day pass. We're going to give you 4 additional days. Absolutely free. That's an $89 value. It amounts to $7.18 per day, Prez, and even you could afford that.
And I think, Ross, today is the last day of that sale. Ross, the picture you use on Sports Memo, did somebody draw that on the streets of Vegas?
Another loaded question.
No, like seriously, is that a painted portrait? What is that?
It was done by a photographer, and they put a little more color in my face than I really would have wanted. I do get quite tan in the summer, but that needs to be redone. Thank you for bringing that to my attention, Prez. But when you
got you, bro.
I had a guy call me Joe. Yeah, I had a guy call me Joe Biden on one of my videos last week here on WagerTalk TV, and my only answer to that is I make a lot more right decisions and wrong decisions in sports betting than he does on a political format, and our country would be in a lot better shape if he had the percentage I have. Yeah, Harvey Keitel.
Harvey Keitel. Ross, I will not respond to anything political on the show for fear. For fear of the world we live in.
I know.
Teddy,
we can talk odds. We can absolutely talk political odds, and we will. As political season comes into town, that's something I pay a lot of attention to. But opinions, I'm keeping mine to myself. Prez keeping him to himself. And that'll be that. And our guests will keep their opinions to themselves as well when it comes to who they don't on the political spectrum. All it does is piss people off.
But it was all in fun, is what I'm trying to say. But you're right, guys. And Prez, have a great week in Vegas. Treat Teddy nice. Be nice to each other, guys. Take care.
Ross Benjamin. Teddy Crispy writes, I was going to say something about that picture, but I didn't want to be rude. Yeah, that's never stopped me. Teddy covers. It's your big game breakdown.
Big game breakdown for Monday. Let's go to the MLB card and talk about the Atlanta Braves and the Chicago Cubs. This is a client play for me today. You guys get it here for free. And before I get into it, I do want to let you guys know about this MLB through the All-Star break deal is the deal to get right now at WagerTalk.com. You get every play, every day, nothing more to buy, all the big plays included. There's no bait and switch. And it's $295 between here and the All-Star break. The MLB's been real good for the clients and I, both lately and a little bit longer term. Frankly, I'm writing plus 40 something units into Monday's action. And of course, I would say June, probably my favorite month for MLB. It's time to get on board. So take advantage of that special offer right now over at WagerTalk.com. Classic Marco angle. All right. The Braves played last night on the road against the Mets. They blew the game in the bottom of the ninth. Now they travel off the Sunday night game. They have bullpen issues today. And they're laying minus 140, even higher in a couple of books. The total in this game sitting at 8. Let me make this very clear. All right. Marcell Ozuna's have been a monster. He leads the major with 40 RBIs. He leads the NL with 12 home runs. And he's the only guy for Atlanta that's hitting. The team isn't hitting 5 runs or less for 13 straight games for the Braves. They got 6 runs in the 14th game, and then 5 runs or less in all 5 before that. So it's been a struggle for Atlanta to put together crooked numbers on the scoreboard. And no one's putting up crooked numbers on the scoreboard against Imanaga. I mean, he was the NL Rookie of the Month. Let's put it this way. The Cubs, he started 7 games. The Cubs are 7-0 in those games. He's been an absolute monster so far this season. Bet on all the way. First 5, full game, underdog price. Chicago, a clear choice for this bettor, but fading Atlanta, who's not hitting and is laying a price today that I think is too high. Give me the Cubbies at the plus price. And there's your big game breakdown. Back to you, Mr. Prez.
Teddy, what do you got going for the clients tonight?
I have that play in MLB, and we have one in the NBA for this evening. Again, a 65% NBA playoff run. Just shy of 60% in the NBA, counting every play every day since November, and 220 units of profit in the NBA. 58% over more than 500. I believe it's getting close to 550 plays now since 2022. So the association has been pretty good. Merrill's been good. Ross Benjamin's been good. I've been good. Take advantage. Get on board.
Well, I've had an incredible NBA playoffs myself. It seems like everybody's winning. Mark Zeno and Brian Power are having a great NBA playoffs. I've won 5 in a row. I'm on a 16-9 run, and I'm up 22 units. While I talk, everyone can stare at Teddy. I'm up 22 units. Dan's doing a brilliant job right now. Brilliant. Oh, hey, who's that handsome guy? Anyway, I've had a killer NBA playoffs too. I've got 1 NBA play, 2 baseball plays, and 1 NHL play going for the clients tonight. And last I left you guys, I gave you a penalty box segment where I said take the over in the Rangers-Carolina game. It cashed. I've got one more for you coming up after Andy Lang. Andy, welcome to the show, brother. Andy.
Thank you very much, guys.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go. So, Andy, we have done some changing to our roster for WagerTalk today. We did a poll last week on who everybody's favorite 5 handicappers are. You are constantly on that list. And as a result, basically what we're going to be doing is we're going to be bringing on our most loved and most followed handicappers more often than not. You will be on at least twice a week moving forward. Same with Marco, same with Ross, same with Steve Merril. This week, you're on 3 times because you will be co-hosting on Friday. So thanks for that, man. Lots of work that I've handed to you. Let's get into your 3 prop bets. The first one is Vanessa Demopoulos. Plus
Perfect.
250 over Emily Ducote. Tell us.
Very well done. Very well done. You got them both
practicing.
done pretty good. Real quick, guys, though, Teddy, we got a piece of merchandise that's going to go up in the WagerTalk store here. So just in honor of your segment today, we're going to put the ketamine and the ketamine and juice cooler mugs. You can get those. Wait, I'm kidding. This is not a real product. You can't get those, but that must have been what that guy was drinking out of. Let's take a look at this Vanessa Demopoulos. I don't get the price at all. Demopoulos is plus 250. And this is a great spot at an underdog. I've given out a couple of these pretty big underdogs on this show. And what baffles me here is Vanessa Demopoulos actually has a ground game, and Emily Ducote does not. The other big advantage, Demopoulos has much better cardio. Ducote's pretty good on the feet. She's got pretty decent striking, but it's not amazing. And Demopoulos has this style that really fits well for the judges. She won her last fight, but she absolutely did not win that. I don't know why the judges gave it to her. It was a terrible decision, but she's super active. She's never going to slow down. And if she can get this on the ground, I think she wins one of the first 2 rounds. And then in round 3, she's going to have the better cardio in this one. Ducote is going to have to win 2 rounds on the feet, and I'm just not sure that she can do it. And there's no way I'm laying minus 310 on this one. So Demopoulos at plus 250 is way too good to pass up with her cardio and ground game.
When is this? I'm looking at the WagerTalk live odds screen. I'm not seeing the fight. So that leaves me short on being able to take a look and find questions for you. When is it and where is it? And why aren't the odds posted?
It's this Saturday coming up. So it's part of the UFC Fight Night. The main event is Lerone Murphy and Edson Barbosa. UFC is on this week, and then they're off the week after that, and then they'll come back in June.
Yes, sir. Andy Lang with Teddy, you want to go? I don't care, man.
Briefly, I'm assuming that the WagerTalk live odds screen will reflect this UFC fight in Barbados over the weekend at some point in the not too distant future. That's all I wanted to say. It's not on the screen.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Teddy. You really added a lot of value there. Andy Lang.
Yes.
Luka. Over 9.5 rebounds, minus 135. Why are you going with that play? He pretty much stands on the outside all day long.
He does not stand on the outside all day long. So I've been following Luka pretty closely in this series. We cashed a 5% play on Luka on Saturday. We took his under points, rebounds, and assists. So I was looking very intently. He's clearly hurt, not at 100%. So, Teddy, you probably have watched this. They're really trying to hide him on defense, and they're just planting him by the rim. It's not a zone, but the first quarter, he's getting like 6-7 rebounds because they're just putting him right by the basket and trying to limit his mobility. He doesn't go out on the perimeter a whole lot because he's so slow, especially right now. And the last 2 games have reflected that. He had 10 rebounds 2 games ago, 15 rebounds in the last game. They're doing whatever they can to try and limit how much damage he keeps doing to that injury. So I think I was surprised to see 9.5 coming off of a 15 rebound performance. So at home, really, really big game. I think they do the exact same thing. They maybe limit a couple of his minutes, but on defense, he's going to be under the basket. I like them to get to 10 rebounds in this one.
So here's the quote from Luka coming off of the last game. They asked him what hurt, and he said everything as he limped to the locker room. Luka's as banged up as, that's unfortunately it kept me off of Dallas in game 3 where I probably should have had him, but I was worried about Luka not being right. And I'm not convinced he's going to be any healthier today. So when you're banged up, every bone in your body, every muscle in your body hurts. Is that when we want to go over rebounds?
I've been impressed, man. He muscles through it. He gets pretty dramatic sometimes. Somebody steps on his toes. He's like, oh. He's always complaining to the referees all game long. But if he's good enough to play, and he's good enough to play these 35 plus minutes, to me, Teddy is good enough to stand in the paint and grab a bunch of rebounds. So a lot of times they're uncontested rebounds as well. A lot of the Mavericks got to get out of his way sometimes. So yeah, I know it's tough if he's injured, but I think it actually helps to play a little bit more.
Andy Lang, everybody. Yeah, Luka should have played soccer with all the complaining and the diving and whatnot. Anyway, I'm a fan of Luka. Andy Lang, before we get into Thomas Harley, you had a winner this weekend based on the infamous, legendary baby angle.
Cashes once again. Yeah, it was close. Tabitha Ricci comes through. And that's the edge that you get with this fade the baby theory. Like, these fights are close. You're looking for a little bit of an edge. We got it. It cashes again. So we have an interesting fade the baby theory this week, Prez. Scotty Scheffler had a baby 10 days ago, and it is the PGA Championship this week. So what do you do with the best golfer in the planet playing at a course that suits his game but is coming off of a baby? Well, we'll break that down on Tea Time tomorrow here on WagerTalk TV.
Freaking mic drop on that one. Now that is how you set up a show. Thomas Harley over 1.5 shots on goal, minus 140. No follow-up from Teddy. Let's hear why.
Yeah, just a real quick one. He's gone over this 1.5 total in all 3 games against Colorado. And Prez, if you've watched this, you know, he is on the second line of the power play, but he's the point man. He's driving that second line of the power play. They've had 3 power play opportunities, one game, 2 in the other, and it just sets up nice for him to get a couple of shots on goal. So he does a great job. They really trust him when he comes out. So even if we get only 1 shot on the power play over the course of 60 minutes, I think he gets another one. So 2, 4, and 3 in his last 3 games against the Avalanche. Nice little 1.5 shots on goal prop.
Andy, what do you got to promote?
Huge week. Just huge week. We have a golf major, we have a Formula One race, and we have NBA, NHL, MLB, and somebody already brought it up in the comment section. Yes, we have another darts league game on Thursday, and we've cashed our last 3 weeks, including a 5% darts play. The first ever 5% WagerTalk darts cash in the company's history. I'm very proud of that. So we're running a promo code. Andy7 gets 7 days, $30 off. We're up 65 units in 2024. We're on a beautiful run in the NBA, number 1 in NHL as well. So all sports are running really, really well. It's a great way to take advantage of all sports, considering how many we have this week. So promo code Andy7 gets instant $30 off a 7-day pass, locks in all sports and all percentages. Andy Lang, WagerTalk.com.
Boom! Andy Lang done. Ross Benjamin done. Teddy Covers done. Steve Merril done. You know who's not done? This guy. Dan, cue up the penalty box segment. Okay, everybody, it's time for your penalty box segment. And there are 2 NHL games going tonight. I've got 1 bet for you, and we're going straight back to the same bet I gave out on Friday. And that's the over in this Carolina-New York game. The over is still 5.5. And the last game ended 4-3. They've gone over 3 out of 4 games in this series. 3 times the score was 4-3. And I have no issue if you guys bet 4-3 as the score. I think that's a reasonable score, and I think we might see overtime again. There's been overtime 2 out of the 4 games in this series, but I'm looking to play the over here. And the bottom line is, you know, this Carolina team has been absolutely dominating the play against the New York Rangers. Every single game, they have outshot the New York Rangers. One of the games, they put up 57 shots to the Rangers 39, 47-25. And last game was 31-25. So why don't I like Carolina here? Their goaltending. And that's why I think the right way to approach this game is to play the over. 25 shots by Rangers last week. Last game, they put up 3 goals. 25 shots the game before, they put up 3 goals. That is a terrible goaltending save percentage, and it's reflected in the fact that they're down 3-1 Carolina. So when I look at this game, I think to myself, okay, Carolina's going to get theirs. They're going to get 3 goals. But the Rangers, they're shooting on a sieve, and they're going to get 3 goals as well. There's no reason to overthink this play. Take over the total of 5.5 in the Carolina and New York Rangers game. Teddy covers. That's it for the week for me. Take us home, bro.
Sure. That's it for the day when it comes to Wager Talk Today. We'll do it again tomorrow. Same time, same channel. 9 a.m. here on the left coast, noon for you back east. Between now and then, enjoy the games and best of luck with all your wagers.